People in Wales could soon be banned from using e-cigarettes in enclosed public places like restaurants, pubs or at work. The new public health law would make Wales the first part of the UK to ban them. But the proposals, which could come into force in 2017, have divided opinion. Britain's largest cancer charity says there's no scientific evidence to support the policy and are concerned it could undermine efforts to give up tobacco. Our Wales correspondent, Al Griffith, has all the details.
Once it was smoke that hung in the air. Now in some pubs, vapour has filled the gap. The rise of the e-cigarette has been rapid, especially amongst people trying to quit tobacco. The scientific community is split over whether these devices help or harm public health, but the Welsh Government believes it needs to act.
It will be no use at all in 5 or 10 years' time, when the harm has actually happened, to say we wished we had acted then, because that harm will never be capable of being undone.
The ban is based on the idea that e-cigarettes renormalise smoking, a claim hotly disputed.
We just don't see from what the evidence we've seen so far that you can justify that ban on those grounds in particular. There are potential unintended consequences, particularly that e-cigarettes are an opportunity for people to move away from tobacco smoking, which is very, very bad for their health, and we wouldn't want to put up any unnecessary barriers to prevent people from quitting cigarettes.
Across the UK, there's already 2 million people using e-cigarettes. Wales would be the only part of the country to prohibit their use indoors. But it's not acting in isolation. In Belgium, similar restrictions already apply. And in Brazil, these things are banned completely.
The ban would include the hundreds of shops that have started selling e-cigs. At this store in Cardiff, opinion was divided.
I think it's good because not everyone smokes, and it's not fair on the people that do not smoke.
Anything that helps them give up cigarettes is a positive. I think they should be able to smoke indoors and out.
I don't think they should be banned. Do you know what I mean? It's giving people something else. You know, they're replacing that cigarette.
A ban on sales to under 18-year-olds is on the way across the UK, but the Welsh Government wants to go further and says it won't be blown off course. Well, Griffith, BBC News.
Well, joining me now from Cardiff is Dr. Julie Bishop, who's Director of Health Improvement at Public Health Wales. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Where is the evidence that your stance is the correct one?
Well, I think part of the issue that your piece there highlighted is that actually across the international tobacco control community there are very different views on this issue, and actually the strength of the evidence one way or another isn't conclusive. And so in taking action about protecting public health, we have to work on the best available evidence that we have at the time. And in this case, this is one part of a wider range of measures that are about reducing the harm associated with tobacco smoking. And I think our view here is that by taking this step, we're controlling any of the possible risks that there might be to the wider community. And actually, that actually puts us in a much stronger position to work with smokers, to actually encourage them to consider e-cigarettes as being part of the solution to them reducing their harm around tobacco. So we actually see this as a win-win position.
Well, haven't you just shot yourself in the foot? Because presumably you're trying to persuade people to take up e-cigarettes by bringing e-cigarettes into the same level as cigarettes. You're doing exactly the opposite.
I don't think we see it that way at all. I mean, this legislation, as you've already said, that the Welsh Government is proposing is about looking at this issue of normalising smoking or renormalising smoking. So actually reversing some of the progress that we've made as a result of things like the smoking ban in actually creating public environments in which people don't see people smoking. And there is a reality here, which is these products, some of them more than others, actually do look for all intents and purposes like smoking. So,
but hang on, but that's the very point, and it's designed for those people who are trying to give up. It's that halfway house between smoking and not smoking, and the evidence and the common sense suggests that that is why most people are taking them up. They're not seeing it as a gateway to further smoking.
No, but I think that's the two separate issues there. We recognise that there is a potential benefit for public health of people switching from tobacco cigarettes to e-cigarettes, and we're very clear about that. But this piece of legislation is about actually the wider population impact of potentially re-establishing a smoking culture within public places, which could have an impact on future generations who might actually take up tobacco cigarettes on the back of having seen smoking behaviour. So that's the kind of issue that the Minister is concerned about in bringing in this legislation.
But there's no evidence anywhere, is there, that quite strong bans in public places and elsewhere that have been introduced in recent years are at risk of reappearing if you bring in e-cigarettes. I mean, the evidence, again, just isn't there for that.
No, I think that's a slightly different issue. I think what we're saying is that the original smoking bans were brought in order to remove the risk of non-smokers being exposed to the very harmful second-hand tobacco smoke, and they have achieved that. But the secondary benefit of having done so is that we've created a world in which young people in particular are not regularly exposed to adults smoking in public places, so they don't see that as a normal part of society. Adults using e-cigarettes can look like smoking, and it can make it more difficult, so our enforcement colleagues tell us, for them to immediately see the difference between somebody using a cigarette and somebody using an e-cigarette. Now, that is a disputed position. We recognise that. Not everybody holds that view. But the view that's been taken by the Welsh Government is that is a real risk, and that by bringing in this legislation that addresses that one very specific element, we actually create a situation where we can be quite positive about the role of e-cigarettes in helping smokers, existing smokers who wish to quit. And that's what this legislation does.
OK, Dr. Julie Bishop, Director of Health at Public Health Wales, thank you very much.
Thank you.